Yo, what's up? How you doing? This is Coach Renz. And today we're back again. Once again. I know we missed yesterday. My apologies. I completely forgot that I had an appointment. Well, I didn't forget that I had the appointment. I didn't realize the appointment was so far away. It was like an hour away, an hour and some change away. So that's why we missed them yesterday. TikTok, sorry. Y'all don't have any volume. There you go, TikTok. Yeah, so I had an hour away trip. Didn't realize it was an hour away. Hence, no video, no live yesterday, but we are back today. Today is Thursday. We are talking about the Kybalion. Friday is going to be interesting because I'm going on a road trip. So probably won't be able to shoot this until later in the evening on Friday, possibly late at night. Possibly we'll have to see how things go. But, you know, we make it do what it do. I got to live a life too, just like y'all live a life. So today is Thursday, so we go over to Kybalion today. Today is book club day. Let me give people a little time to get on. As you know, I own Smoking Phoenix Cigar Lounge here in Stone Mountain, so there's always time to light them up. Actually, the cigar I'm about to smoke is called the Mad Monkey, Mojo Jojo. No, I just call it Mad Monkey. I just call it Mojo Jojo. Yep. I used to love watching the Powerpuff Girls with my kids when they was coming up. Me and my son's favorite character was Mojo Jojo. Mojo Jojo. But anyway, so it's a little warm in here. Let me turn the air conditioning down once a little bit. And we're going to kick this thing, get started. So you know how things go. We start out, we go until 12 noon, unless somebody if nobody's walked into my cigar lounge at 12 noon, then we'll keep going. But depending on who walks in, we might be able to still keep going either way. That's the way we do it. And today we're doing the Kybalion. Of course, if you got questions about the Kybalion, questions about the subject matter that we're talking about while I'm going through it, I don't mind, answering questions at that point. If you have questions outside of that, you're going to have to wait until we finish this chapter. And then we can get into those types of questions. Let me preface, because I want you to have something in your mind. I was going to wait to the end. I've been meditating on this all morning. I've been meditating on this thought process. Should I tell you guys this thought process right now, or should I wait to the end? And I just made a decision like right now that I'm going to tell you right now. And you see, part of this, I've neglected to ever talk about vibration in this way because it begins to form, it's the beginning of a form of a codex. Oh, Erica, you in Egypt? I'm jealous. But I'm got Texas, Debbie. But yeah, I didn't say good morning to the people. To Mars, Jeremy, Donovan, Erica, Debbie, Teresa, Chef, Prince. All right. So that's all the names I saw right there. The law of vibration. This book is going to tell you that when you understand the law of vibration, you literally are holding it's the functional key of the universe, right? Now we know that all these laws, the law of mentalism, the law of correspondence, we've done those in detail for previous videos. If you want to see that, go to my YouTube channel and you can find those in the playlist for Kybalion. But, and of course we did a brief overview of all the laws, but in our current existence, current mindset, the law of vibration is the true power of understanding of functionality that most people will never get. We go and we listen to the motivational speakers and things of that nature. And they tell you that you got to focus, you got to focus, you got to focus, right? And that's great. Then they tell you got to put action. And they're right. You do have to put action towards everything. Everything is built on action. You got to have action. And action is the vibration, but it's the right kind of action. And it's the action that supersedes your belief. It supersedes what you've seen before, what hasn't happened, what has happened. It's the type of vibration that you got to get into. It's the type of action that you get into where it's a melding of your emotional state with your mental state and your actionable state. So all are working together, meaning that when you know how a person half-ass do a job is because they weren't mentally there, they weren't emotionally there, but they got the job down. They got the job done. Oh, you were there for 9 days, congratulations. But they got the job done. It wasn't the best. It didn't necessarily yield what they desired for it to yield or what it was supposed to yield. It didn't maximize the opportunity, but it got done. I came in, I opened the doors of the cigar lounge today. I could have gotten here earlier. I could have, there are always things that can be done more excellently. What is the emotional connection to the mental knowledge of what needs to be done in here that creates my action? That's how it's going to work. But it works. And then we know that I want to give you that one on a regular basic plane. But that emotional part is so vital. Because we often emotionalize ourselves towards the not getting some shit done, not accomplishing something, not manifesting something, not being something. Like you want to get up and work out in the morning, you can emotionalize yourself out of not doing it. And I'm trying to use the most simple explanation, but let me use something more spiritual minded too, because see, that's where we get into this whole spirit mind thing. So I don't want to beat that dead horse. So you got to control your emotions, but you have to know how to use your emotions properly. Most people say there's a problem with fear, but there's no problem with fear unless you allow fear to win. Meaning, have fear, but use that fear to move you in the direction that you desire to move in. How many people, y'all know, you've been with me for a long time, Grand Rising, that I used to own a gym, personal trainer. Can't tell now, but yeah, I used to. I always knew which clients were going to be successful and which ones were going to fail by which ones had hit a harsh pain point that made them walk through my door. The ones who hit that pain point, that hurt or that fear, they had a heart attack. A parent died because they was of health issues. The lady I told you guys several times, the lady who took her kids to the amusement park and they couldn't pull down the rail thing, and she's been promising them for 3 years. That amount of pain, I knew she would change at that point. There are people who live, when those people, you heard stories, they were so impoverished growing up that the pain of being impoverished forced them to become successful. There are so many different examples of something like that, where that pain, if a person is, which one you think will succeed more? The person who desires success or the person who wait a minute, no, let me rephrase. Which one you think will make $10 million faster? The person who desires the $10 billion or the person who is fearful of being in poverty? I forgot to turn that cooler off, making all that noise over there. Which one? I missed my Amazon truck yesterday. I want to make sure I don't miss that food day. Which one would get there? Which one is going to make the 10 million, going to create whatever and do whatever? The one who fears poverty, or the one who desires to make? And they can come from the same space. That's the thing about it. They can come from the same level of impoverishment, right? But they can come from the same level of impoverishment. But the one who fears versus the one who desires, the one who fears being impoverished versus the one who just desires to make 10 million. Debbie says desires. It's fear versus desires, Mars. Fear versus desire. That's the question. Fear versus desire. Which one wins out? Which one is going to achieve that $10 million? Trying to give y'all a little time. Y'all scared to answer? Y'all don't want to answer? I'm waiting for you to answer. Y'all ain't gonna answer. Y'all just sitting there being silent. Fear. Mars says fear. So I got one fear, one desire. One fear, one desire. YouTube ain't saying nothing. Oh, Debbie, you switched up. You on Facebook. Fear or desire? The one who fears. Chef says fear. Teresa says fear. Debbie, you out there by yourself right now. I'm going to keep on going. Fear. Fear. So that lovely Barry says fear. It's absolutely right. It would be great if we accomplish things based on desire. Right? Donovan says fear. It would be great. But the emotion of fear is stronger than the emotion of desire, simply in the form, if we just look at it on the simplest format. Fear of something makes us do things. It makes us get shit done. If you desire something, you'll allow yourself to reason your way out of doing certain things at a certain time. You'll go party a little bit more. You won't be as meticulous about your finances. And that's great. The fear person might become an asshole, but that fear person, almost everything they do is geared towards achieving that. Is geared towards not so much achieving the 10 million, but making sure they are as far away from the poverty, the pain that they felt in that poverty state. Right. So my man over here, Mr. Franks, said it perfectly. Fear emits a stronger vibration. Fear emits a stronger vibration. It does. Desire doesn't emit the same strength of vibration. It doesn't. Most fears, most emotions don't emit the same strength of vibrations of the thought. This is why it's so important. And I know people like to say, love is so strong. Love is the answer. Love, no. Sorry. Love is not strong enough. Right? Love is just not strong enough. Desire is a diamond dozen. Fear changes the spectrum of their being and their needs versus want. Exactly. This is why if I do say desire, if I do use the term desire, I'm using desire over want, because want is always indicating a lacking. But it is that power of fear that emits a stronger emotion. And that emotion goes out in a frequency. Your desire that comes from your mind, your heart or your mind, everything emits a frequency. But why do you think people stay stuck in religion? I want you to think about something. I don't know the racial makeup of everybody on here, or the national makeup of everybody on here, but most of my folks will understand this. And even if you're not, your family didn't experience this, you still will. In the 1940s, 50s, 20s, down here in the South, I'm from Georgia. Down here in Georgia, a black man's being hung on a noose. The rope is tightening around his neck. He's praying to the Christian God to free him, to let this rope break, why is this happening to me? Please, God, please. He's begging. He's afraid, terrified, but he's begging, he's pleading. The same white man who's pulling the rope, who's standing around with his family and friends, or it's a group of white men, they're giving thanks to the same deity. The same damn deity. They're giving thanks. Who does, now people often will ask, who does this God answer? What answer? Truthfully, he didn't answer the white man that's pulling the rope. He didn't answer the guy who's pulling the noose. He didn't answer either one of them. These men just committed these actions. This man, they hung the one man, and they both are doing it out of fear. But the fear of the black man by the white man, especially through America's history, has caused them to act and vibrate in such a way where they would create reasons to hang people, to shoot people, to incarcerate, to enslave. Deity has absolutely nothing to do with it. It is all the fear that people have. Racism started out of fear of loss of power. The kings and lords of England realized that there were more people of color on the planet than them. So they convinced the economically lower white guys and women that you're better than them, out of fear of losing what they got. Fear is a hell of a pill. But I'm going way longer into this than I wanted to before we get into the book. But there's one other part that I want you guys to understand as we go through this chapter of the law of vibration, reading the Kybalion. It's the spectrum of vibrations. To put it as simple as I possibly can, I had it real simple in my mind this morning. When you have a thought or an emotion, and you got to remember we've already previously went over a basic of vibration. When you have a thought or emotion, it's one dimensional. So it's not even one dimensional, it's in the ether. And then when you bring it into the image into your mind, it becomes an image. It starts to become real, but it's balancing between the different levels of correspondence A and B. It's like the spiritual plane D, but right at the matter plane A, that space in between. And then you take it, and let's say it's a building, it's a blueprint, and you draw it out on paper, right? Now it becomes one dimensional. Then when you build it, it becomes two dimensional when you draw it. Then when you build it, it becomes 3 dimensional. Then when you go inside of it, it becomes 4 dimensional. But then when you realize and you revert back to the spectrum, there is a 5th dimensional, a 6th dimensional, a 7th, and so on and so forth, as per the law of correspondence. But we have difficulties getting that to those parts because we've been conditioned that we can only go so far in these meat suits that we live in. But all your thoughts return back. They initiated from the higher realm, come into our matter realm, and revert back. So when we think about how we emotionalize and create and manifest with the actions behind it, well, no matter what the emotion you're using, it has to go through that cycle. You have to emotionalize it, feel it, think about it, know it, bring it into the different planes, and then eventually it goes back. But the thing that keeps people caught so like how I use the religious example, is They have fear of not knowing. They have the fear of, I got it. You can go through the hanging. You know that God didn't answer neither one of y'all, or it looks like they answered the white guy, but you still stay true to that religion. A lot of our ancestors stay true to that religion. A lot of our people today stay true to different religions because of all that. Not ever really thinking about the only reason they do is because of fear of going to hell, right? Fear of going to hell. But hell is an implanted idea. It's an idea. It's an implanted thought. It doesn't exist except for in the mind of people. Some people are living a third dimensional hell right now, and then a fourth dimensional hell. Actually, some people are living a first dimensional, second, third, and fourth dimensional hell right now. And they think that they're being loyal to this religion, that the same people who are persecuting them, they're going to go to a fifth dimensional heaven. But it's all the implanted idea. If you don't go away from nothing from this law of vibration today, understand this. And I've said this before, and this is why I said this rarely before, because I don't try to write codex. I don't try to create any kind of religious belief. If you don't start getting past any doubt in your mind as to what is fifth dimensional afterlife, basically, after this life, you will be subject to whatever's been implanted in your mind from a childhood, or whatever society has implanted in your mind that you may speak against and say, oh, I don't believe in hell. But there's that little piece of doubt. If you don't get rid of it, if you don't realize and emotionalize how strong the thought is at the moment of leaving this existence, you will manifest something that you don't want. You are the heaven or hell creator. No deity is creating heaven or hell. You do. You create your next existence. For those who are strong, like my guy Paul, who normally on Facebook, Paul, straight up atheist, oblivion. For him, that's going to be true. If he's real, I don't know his mind, but that's going to be it for him. Oblivion, cease to exist. His consciousness will force his consciousness to not recognize any existence whatsoever. If you think that it's some streets of gold, pearly gates, that's what you're going to get. But most people don't believe that. Most people don't. Most Christians people don't believe that. Most Rastafari, the Islamics, the Hindu, most of these people do not believe in the freaking religion that they talk about. They don't truly believe it. Like deep down in there, they don't believe it. But you got to get there. And understanding things like vibration and different and understanding polarity and correspondence, and really it's correspondence, that gets you in the right space for that. And I have taken 30 minutes or so just to get that part out. But realize it, the strength of your emotions is what gets your mind frequency to manifest everything at every dimensional plane. That's the simple way of putting everything I just said. All right. Now we can get into this book. And I probably have explained quite a few things that the book is actually going to talk about as well. For those who are going to ask the question, who may not, we are in our book club Thursdays. We're reading the Kybalion. And we literally read it. So if reading bores you, you're probably about to get bored. But I don't just read straight through it. We talk as I go through each portion of it and try to explain some of it, because some parts are, they're not easily understood. I've read this book probably about 30 or 40 times, right? Oh, you're welcome, Prince. I didn't see that. So vibration. We already went over a brief description of it when we first started this in part 1. This is part 7. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates, the Kybalion. The great third hermetic principle, the principle of vibration, embodies the truth that motion is manifested in everything, in everything in the universe, that nothing is at rest, that everything moves, vibrates, and circles. The hermetic principle was recognized by some of the early Greek philosophers who embodied it in their systems, but then for centuries it was lost. It was lost sight of by the thinkers outside of the hermetic ranks. But in the 19th century, physical science rediscovered the truth that the 20th century scientific discoveries have added additional proof of the correctness and the truth of the centuries old hermetic doctrine. And we all know this: everything vibrates, everything has emotion. That is why there is no such thing as death, only transmutation from one form to another. The hermetic principles are that not only is everything in constant movement and vibration, but that the differences between the various manifestations of the universal power are due entirely to the varying rate and mode of the vibration. The rate and the mode, how quickly, how intense is it, and what is the mode? Is it emotional or is it just thought? Is it fear or is it love? Which one is winning? Which one, what mode? That determines the manifestations. Not only this, but that even the all in itself manifests a constant vibration of such an infinite degree of intensity and rapid motion that it may be practically considered at rest, meaning that it's moving so fast that it looks like it's at rest. The teachers directing the attention of the student to the fact that even on the physical plane, a rapidly moving object, such as a revolving wheel, seems to be at rest. The teachings are to the effect that the spirit is at one end is at one end of the pole of vibration, and the other pole being certain extreme gross forms of matter. Between these two poles are millions upon millions of degrees, millions of different rates and modes of vibration. So that this is why I say this is basically there are we can look at hot and cold and we look at earth levels and we say 100 200 degrees and negative 200 degrees extreme. That's the coldest the earth, that's the hottest the earth. I'm just making up those numbers, so don't go out there saying that I said that the earth can get up to 200 and below and all that. But just those numbers are finite numbers, and then but there are all those degrees in between. But when it comes to your mental energy, your consciousness, there are millions of degrees, millions upon millions of degrees. You're not finite to a certain. You're only finite when in comparison to what the Kybalion calls the all. In comparison to anything else inside of the constructed mind of the all, you are as infinite as anything else. Modern science has proven that all that we call matter and energy are but modes of vibratory motion. And some of the more advanced scientists are rapidly moving towards the position of the occultists, who hold that the phenomena of mind are likely modes of variations of motion. Let us see what the scientist has to say regarding the question of vibration in matter and energy. Make sure I understood how much it is. Okay, we should be able to get through this in an hour. In the first place, science teaches that all matter manifests in some degree, the vibration arising from the temperature or heat. To be an object cold or hot, both being but degrees of the same thing. It manifests certain heat vibrations, and in that sense is in motion and vibration. Then all particles of matter are in circular movement from corpuscle to sun. The planets revolve around the sun, and many of them turn on their axis. The sun moves around the greater central points, and these are believed to move around still greater, and so on and ad infinitum. The molecules of which the particles, let me move this into light. The molecules of which the particular kinds of matter are composed are in a state of constant vibration and movement around each other and against each other. The molecules are composed of atoms, which likely are in the state of constant movement and vibration. The atoms are composed of corpuscles, sometimes called electrons, ions, etc., which are in a state of rapid motion revolving around each other, and which manifest a very rapid state and mode of vibration. And so we see that all forms of matter manifest vibration in accordance with the hermetic principle. I know that sounds like a bunch of science stuffy, but it's going to explain those in a little bit more detail. But just understand, like when they were saying that hot and cold are about the same thing, they're just vibrations of heat. They're different degrees of heat or temperature, and that everything has a connected relation. The moon revolves around the earth revolves around the sun is revolving around some point in the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy is revolving around some other point, and so on and so forth. And so it is with various forms of energy. Science teaches that light, heat, magnetism, and electricity are but forms of vibratory motion connected in some way with and probably emanating from the ether. Science does not yet attempt to explain the nature of the phenomenon known as cohesion, which is the principle of molecular attraction, nor chemical affinity, which is the principle of atomic attraction, nor gravitation, the greatest mystery of the three, which is the principle of attraction by which every particle or mass of matter is bound to every other particle or mass. These three forms of energy are not as yet understood by science, yet the writers incline to the opinion that these two are manifestations of the same form of vibratory energy, the fact of which the Hermetists have held and taught for the past ages. So they don't understand molecular connection, chemical affinity, how atomic particles are attracted to each other, how molecules are attracted to each other, gravity, how damn near everything is bound by gravity and connects everything together. I would add one other thing, and that is time. Time is a vibration. Time is a frequency. And how everything is beyond, just in this, I don't want to say beyond gravity. It would seem that gravity and time are equally bound because everything is connected to gravity and time, and both differentiate depending upon perspective and relativity. Like, I know people like to say time doesn't exist. Bullshit. Time does exist. If time don't exist, then why aren't you living forever? Go back to being a baby right now. But there is a vibration of reversing time, of forwarding time, of being out, I didn't mean to say out, because we will never be outside of time. When people say time doesn't exist, sure, the time how we calculate time on Earth doesn't exist for the rest of the universe, but as long as you're on Earth, that time exists. You go outside of Earth time it still exists, but it only exists for those people. It no longer exists for you. Time becomes different. Has anybody ever seen that movie Interstellar? I just watched that movie not too long ago. It does a really good job of breaking down the energy of time. So that thing is loud over there. Let me turn this thing off. It's loud to me. Don't know if it's loud to y'all. But that movie does a good job of kind of breaking down how time is energy, Time is a form of energy. And I think once we start looking at time as a form of energy, people who are much, much, much smarter than I am, way smarter than I am, will be able to figure out how we can control time. We don't know how to control gravity. We just know how to fight against gravity. You use an airplane to get thrust and wind to, and wind and shape geometry to create lift. But we haven't really figured out how to use the energy, the vibration of gravity or time. Those would be two of the greatest discoveries. But at some other dimensional plane, time has to be different. Where time is manipulated like how we manipulate gravity. Like we can manipulate gravity by flying a big, look at an airplane. It's a big, heavy ass hunk of metal, heavier than, the molecules around it, but yet it lifts and it flies. We can manipulate it, gravity. We can't control it, we manipulate it. To be able to manipulate time, just to get to that part, manipulate time, we'll gain the ability to travel at different points. Hey, Didi, how you doing? May the force be with you. It is not against, it is for the plaintiff. Seems like a Star Wars joke, but it went over my head. Let's see. I know people are. Make sure I'm not missing anything before we continue. All right, so let's continue. The universal ether, which is postulated by science without its nature being understood clearly, is held by the hermetists to be but a higher manifestation of that which is erroneously called matter. That is to say, matter at a higher degree of vibration, and is called by them the ethereal substance. The hermetists teach that this ethereal substance is of extreme tenuity and elasticity, and pervades universal space, serving as a medium of transmission of waves of vibratory energy, such as heat, light, electricity, magnetism, etc. The teachings are that the ethereal substance is a connecting link between the forms of vibratory energy known as matter on the same hand, the energy of force on the other hand, and also that it manifests a degree of vibration in rates and modes entirely of its own. Does anybody understand that? Anybody understand that? Basically just saying that the ethereal substance is, we're ethereal substance, electricity, things like how it gives the example of heat, light, magnetism, electricity, not so connected like how we are, but these are different degrees of, this is a category of matter, of frequency, energy, that is different from like the meat suit that you're in, right? But they're connected into the same matter existence that we are in. Science has offered the illustration of the rapidly moving wheel, top or cylinder, to show the effects of increasing rates of vibration. The illustration supposes a wheel, top, or revolving cylinder running at a low rate of speed. We will call this revolving thing the object. In following out the illustration, let us suppose the object moving slowly. It may be seen readily, but not sounding of its. It may be seen readily. Sometimes the way they wrote back in the early 1900s throw me off. It may be seen readily, but no sound of its movement reaches the ear. The speed is gradually increased. In a few moments, its movements become so rapid that a deep growl or low note may be heard. So you know how like remember when you turn your bicycle upside down and you be pedaling? When first, you know, if it's sitting there, it makes no noise, but then the more you pedal it, don't I know I'm showing my age, but y'all better act like y'all didn't don't act like y'all didn't turn your bicycle upside down and be doing the pedal like that. But then the faster it goes, there's a sound that emanates from the wheel. And the thing about that sound has always been there. It's just the rapid movement increases the sound. Where did I leave off? Then as the rate is increased, the notes rises one in the musical scale. Then the motion begins still further increasing to the next highest note is the next highest note is distinguished. Then one after another, all the notes of the musical scale appear rising higher and higher as the motion is increased. Finally, when the motion have reached a certain rate, the final note perceptible to human ears, it reaches the shrill, piercing shriek dies away and silence follows. So basically, I mean, you can't do this with your bicycle because your arms won't move fast enough. It's the tone. If the wheel moves fast enough, it's still making the noise. You just can't hear it because you can't perceive it. In the same way of not being able to perceive other things. Everything is based on our perception, but it's still there. Just because we can't perceive it doesn't mean it's not there anymore, but the sound is still there. Okay. No sound is heard from the revolving object, the rate of motion being so high that the human cannot register the vibration. Then comes the perception of rising degrees of heat. Then, after quite a time, the eye catches a glimpse of the object becoming a dull, dark reddish color. As the rate increases, the red becomes brighter. Then, as the speed is increased, the red melts into an orange, and then the orange melts into a yellow. Then follows successively the shades of green, blue, indigo, and finally violet. As the rate of speed increases, then the violet shades away, and all colors disappear. The human eye um, cannot being able to register them. But there, I did not read that crazy. That's how it reads. The human eye, the human eye not being able to register them. I am crazy. I did read wrong. I put a can in there. But there are invisible rays emanating from the revolving object, the rays that are used in photography and other subtle rays of light. Then begin to manifest the particular rays known as the X-rays. As the constitution of the object changes, electricity, magnetism are emitted from the appropriate rate of vibration when the appropriate rate of vibration is attained. So basically, as the wheel keeps spinning, 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 it will demonstrate you. It will then start to heat up because they remember when I don't know, you guys, some of you guys may remember. Hey, good morning, Angela, Dwayne. They used to teach that space was empty, and then but a guy back in way, 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 way back in the day said that space wasn't empty. Um, that space was filled with matter, which later on we recognize as dark matter, and that space does have matter. There's no such thing as emptiness. Everything there, matter exists, but it's just that frequencies or levels of perception that we can't catch, we can't feel. It's beyond our scope. But as we've grown, we've detected different scientific methods of figuring out or seeing it. When the wheel spins, the wheel is rubbing against that matter, the air. The faster it goes, the more intense it becomes, the sound, the more intense sound becomes, then it starts to heat up, right? It's kind of like, if you and I can drive from here, from Atlanta to San Diego. If I'm constantly driving at 200 miles per hour, my car is going to need tires faster than your cars. If you're driving at 30 miles per hour, that'd be slow as shit. But I'm creating more heat on my tires, which wear them down because I'm going faster. You're going slower, you're not generating as much heat, you don't wear and tear your tires, and yet we travel the same distance. It's the rate of motion is determining how much heat is given off. So as the type movements, as you speed up your vibration, it creates heat. Then that heat begins to create magnetism and electricity. That's fast shit. That's basically what. So if you think about a car, think about that. That's what it's saying. And I know it's like, how are we going to use this for ourselves? We'll get there. Because we are almost finished. This chapter is a very short one. When the object reaches a certain rate of vibration, its molecules disintegrate and resolve themselves into the original element or atoms. Then the atoms, following the principle of vibration, are separated into the countless corpuscles of which they are composed. And finally, even the corpuscle disappears and the object may be said to be composed of ethereal substance. Science does not dare to follow the illustration further, but the hermeticists teach that if the vibrations can be continuously increased, the object would mount up the successive states of manifestations and would in turn manifest the various mental stages. And then on spirit ward, that's actually a word. It says spirit ward, like spirit and WARD, spirit ward, until it would finally re-enter the all, which is absolute spirit. The object, however, would have to cease to be an object long before the stage of ethereal substance was reached. So you have to cease being a freaking human before you can become spiritual. Every time I see somebody say, I'm spiritual, but you think like a human, you act like a human. You have to increase your mental vibration beyond that of a freaking human in order to truly be a spiritual being. When people people sometimes get mad at me because I say that, there's no such thing as race, but I recognize that I have to deal with other people who do exist racially, right? But I know that there's really no such thing as race. This is just a meat suit. It's just different degrees of brown or black or melanin. I don't even like getting into that discussion, brown, black, because I've seen some people, they motherfuckers black. You can hold a black crayon up to them, they black, but there's nothing wrong with black. It's the culmination of all colors, but it's just different levels of melanation, down from the least to the greatest. There's no such thing as a white person. There's no such, we are all just different levels of melanin. That's it. But we are the same freaking species, but yet we separate ourselves. That's what a spiritual mind would think. A human mind says that I'm black, or I'm brown, they white, they yellow, they red, you're an American, you're African, you're European. That's what a human mind thinks. But like I said, we do have to deal with these fools. So I don't let it escape me that there are certain ways of being that I have to recognize, that I don't have to be the mental state, but just recognize it and know how to deal with it. A certain looking kind of, if a white person, I'm in Stone Mountain, Georgia. When I was growing up, this was a sundown town, meaning that if the sun's going down, get your happy black butt out of this part of town before the sun go down. Because then white sheets came out. They came out. Now, back then, we left it alone. Let them have it. Now, I live out here in Stone Mountain. I work out here in Stone Mountain. I wish if I saw a group of these guys walking down this street with the white cloaks on, I know that they're not thinking at the higher conscious level. I'm pulling all the guns out. Okay. It's as simple as that. So it's understanding the two. It's not big, but your being is different. Your being is different. Amen. One species, many cultures, origins. We've been on this planet longer than the zealots think, but not even a blink of an eye of Mother Earth or Father Heaven. No, and it's right. We've been here such a short period of time. Hey, sister, sister love in Florida. But let's continue. But otherwise, the illustration is correct, in as much as it shows the effect of constantly increasing rates and mode of vibration. It must be remembered in the above illustration that at the stage at which the object throws off vibrations of light, heat, etc., it is not actually resolved into those forms of energy. So just because it's throwing the energy off doesn't mean that that is what it is. Because you're throwing off light don't mean you're a being of light. Just because you're throwing out some love doesn't mean you're a being of love. Just because you're throwing out some fear doesn't mean you're a being of fear, which are much higher in the scale. But simply that it reaches a degree of vibration in which those forms of energy are liberated in a degree from the confining influences of its molecules, atoms, and corpuscles, and corpuscles, as the case may be. These forms of energy, although much higher in the scale than matter, are imprisoned and confined in the material combination by reason of the energies manifesting through and using material forms, but thus becoming entangled and confined in their creation of material form, which to an extent is true of all creation, the creating force becoming involved in its creation. You are a conscious being living in a meat suit. Basically what it's saying. There's a higher form of energy that exists inside of you. Are you laughing at me because I kept messing up your name, Sister Love? I want to say Sus. Okay, one of my business partners, his last name is Sustin, and it kind of like that's how it's thrown. But anyway, you are a conscious being living inside of a meat suit. You are a higher energy, but it is not until you increase the rate of vibration of the meat suit, of your thoughts and your energy, that you start to emanate it from the consciousness inside of you. You can emanate different higher forms of thought while you're still trapped in the meat suit. What I was just explaining about recognizing that there's no such thing as race, and all that sort of thing. But the higher degrees are within you. You just most people are not allowing it to be out, allowing it to live, allowing it to be demonstrated while still inside the meat suit. And some of the old wisdom used to say this. One of the books that we're going to do is the Gospel of Thomas. There's one of the sayings in there that says something to the effect that if the soul came into existence because of the body, then woe to the soul. But if the body came into existence because of the soul, then that's a marvelous something. It goes something like that. I might be saying it wrong, but it goes something like that. But basically, it's like the soul existed before the body, or the consciousness existed before the body, and the body is just here as a meat suit for the soul to experience, as how it kind of goes into all that. But we are beyond just having an earthly experience. We are to create and manifest our own. I used to think that this earth suit is a punishment. To some degree, I still do. When I was trying to figure out a way to make Christianity work for me, I used to say that maybe everyone on the planet are the fallen angels, and this is, since they were cast down to earth, and this is our hell, and it is through some level of repentance that we get out of this hell and go to heaven. But then I became more of a hermetist and realized that heaven is your own manifestation, and there's no God that said, I'm punishing you, and I'm punishing you, and I'm going to reward you. There's none of that bullshit going on. It is all you. Right? We are beyond what the eyes can see, but it's all you. There is no war. The war in heaven is in your freaking mind. That's the war that's going on in your mind. This is heaven. This is heaven. Your gut mind is heaven, and down there is your. It's a head. It has a mind. It has a mind as well. Those are your heavens and hells, and you can be in any one of them. That's your wars in heaven. But let me continue. I'm gonna finish this one before 12. Hold on. I want to have free conversation. Where did I leave off? I left off right there. But the Hermetic teachings go much further than do those of modern science. They teach that all manifestations are thoughts, emotions, reasons, will, or desire, or any mental state or condition are accompanied by vibrations, a portion of which we throw off and which tends to affect the mind of the persons by induction. This is the principle which produces the phenomena of telepathy, mental influence, and other forms of action and power of mind over mind, with which the general public is rapidly becoming acquainted, owing to the wide dissemination of occult knowledge by the various schools, cults, and teachers along these lines at the time. At this time, mind you, this book was written. I think it was written like the 1930s or 40s, something like that. One of them times where people was like getting out there in their mind, exploring the mind. But basically, we was having this discussion in the lounge where I was telling the dude, if we sit up here in the lounge and we talk about somebody long enough, we are sending enough energy into the ether that person will either within 24 hours, that person walks in the door. Now, some people would think, okay, well, why don't you use this kind of thing? Why don't you sit in your lounge and say, okay, we're going to make $1,000 a day. We're going to make $1,000 a day. We're going to make $1,000 a day. It's too vague. It's too vague. You have to see each customer walking in, and you have to emotionalize it. You have to feel it. You have to be in it. You have to know it. But I'm starting to take it further than that. I'm starting to go like, for people that I haven't seen coming in here, I'm like forcing them, sending them the mental thing. You want to come over here and hang out. You want to come over here and you want to buy 4 cigars. You want to, come buy 4 cigars. Not you want to. Come buy 4 cigars. Come into the lounge. Come, this is, you feel happiness when you're in here. You feel, connected when you're in here. Sending out mental messages to people to bring their happy asses in here. Sure do. And then I go and I put out the marketing and I put out the images so that it hits them on their Facebooks and Instagrams and TikToks and all these different things, so that they're supported by something that is on a screen in front of them. And that continuous thing continuously happens. And the next thing you know, you're walking in this door and you're happy when you walk in the door. You don't know that I've been sending that message to get your happy ass in here, because I need to move to Puerto Rico in January. Get your happy ass in. So, but it can be used in many different ways, and you've all experienced it when you've done that. But that is your mental, and sometimes that's your mental manifestation. And sometimes you've done things like that without even thinking about it, without focusing on it. And most of the time it's out of fears. We fear our way into or out of things. Can heaven be considered a return to the all? Well, once you return to the all, you lose your individual consciousness, so you wouldn't know it's heaven. You become one with the all. It's kind of like the all woke up. You have a dream, and in the dream, everything has its own existence. But then once you wake up, and you can't remember the dream, none of those things have their existence anymore, but they are one within you. So heaven would have to perceive this all, the great return to the all that the hermetic, this is teaching. But heaven would be in in every stage. See, that's the thing. In every stage of your consciousness, heaven exists already. It's already there. Now, as far as a heaven that the religious create, where you're worshiping some deity, that type of heaven only exists if you create it. Only if you create it. The mind of the all is universal. Of all the universe is mental. We have to work on our minds. Yes, And think about it, I do agree, we are created in the same way that the all thinks. We have multiple brains in our body to think. They all think differently. They think based on different criteria, but they all think. This one reasons, this one emotionalizes, this one is instinctive, and that one down there is about the pleasures. But they all think. They all have a thought, and can they all work together? How do you use all of them? That's the great mystery. Learn the power of the words that come out of your mouth, right? Because your words that come out of your mouth, if they're backed up by thought and emotion and intent, instinct, and drive, those words will manifest what you desire. They can manifest it. If it's just words, it ain't manifesting shit. If it's a momentary desire, it's not going to do anything. So as much as we use our words, we have to bring all those energies into play. All of them. Right. It's not God creating, it's the God in you. Exactly. That's it. Because we are. It's been over, I've been at this for a while. I've seen the transition from when people say we little G's for there to be a complete understanding of it. Now it's been popularized, and now everybody think they're God. And everybody think they're king. I think they're queen. Everybody think they woke. Got to come up with a new term. Every goddamn year got to come with a new term. But no, it is the deity. It's the God in you. It is that energy in you that manifests, that creates. The question is controlling it, understanding it, and then controlling it, and knowing which variation of the emotion or the thoughts and the energies, which variation to use at what time. For what different things. Where did I leave off? Okay, right here. Every thought, emotion, or mental state has its corresponding rate and mode of vibration. And by an effort of the will of the person or of other persons, these mental states may be reproduced just as a musical tone may be reproduced by causing an instrument to vibrate at a certain rate. Even though that is a reference to cause and effect, your will is the causation, or another person's will can be the causation of what is produced of the vibration, produced out of that vibration through that cause and effect. So this is what I was saying sometimes. Like me and this guy, Bruce, we was going at it. I was like, Bruce, I'm telling you, man, if you think about something, focus on something, that's what's going to happen. That every idea goes out into the ether. There is no new ideas. You just pulling from the ether. You can either be affected by somebody else's thoughts, or you can be a person who affects other people's thoughts. You can create, or you can be the created. Like they can make you do shit, but that's cause and effect. So you have to be mindful of your mental state, your emotional state at all times, so that you can manifest what you are desiring that's best for you to move your heaven. But like I said in the beginning, an hour ago, be mindful of how you are thinking, because when you leave this consciousness, you're going to manifest whatever the hell it is that you truly got like emotionalized and believe. Okay, the instrument to vibrate at a certain rate. Just as color may be reproduced in the same. Oh, that's a typo. Just as color may be produced in the same May. No, just as color may be produced in the same way. There's a typo in the book. It says May instead of way. I've never found a typo in a book before. By knowledge of the principles of vibration as applied to the mental phenomenon, one may polarize his mind at a degree he wishes, thus gaining the perfect control over his mental state, moods, etc. In the same way, he may affect the minds of others, reproducing the desired mental states in them. In short, he may be able to produce on the mental plane that which science produces on the physical plane, namely vibration at will. This power, of course, may be acquired only by the proper instructions, exercises, practice, etc. The science being the science being that of mental transmutation, one of the branches of the hermetic arts. If you've read any of Napoleon Hill's book, many people who are looking to gain in the financial world, Think and Grow Rich is the big book for them. He talks about mental transmutation, and he also talks about sexual transmutation. He's basically talking about energy transmutation from one form of energy to another to transmute it. But in order to do that, you have to invoke certain controls. In the Think and Grow Rich version, he's talking about leadership. He's talking about using masterminding with a group of people as well as with your love interests, masterminding together daily. He talks about all these, what you have to be. A lot of it is he's just talking about mental control. Mental control is your formulation to success in whatever it is that you want. Because when you control the mind and you control the emotions, you can control every aspect of what happens in your life. The only time you can't is when a greater force is applied to you, And sometimes it's a greater force. It's another person. It could be world events. But even when the markets crash, there are those who know how to pivot. Pivoting, when you have a great emotional and mental control, pivoting is not that difficult because it's easy for you to pivot when things change that are beyond you changing them. So it gets into mental transmutation. This is why I'm saying you have to become the master of you. What do I say at the end of pretty much all my videos? You have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration, right? I say that. There's a reason why. That's the whole reason why. It is about create. It's for y'all, but it's also for me as a constant reminder to maintain those controls. In the Marine Corps, we're taught to maintain our bearing, maintain control of our emotions and our mind so that when shit hit the fan, you don't lose it. You don't freeze up. I've had somebody freeze up with me, and I've seen people who, hell, compared to them, I froze up. Them jokers crazy, but he is crazy though. Someone's intent can be stronger than yours, therefore creating a stronger vibration. Exactly. It's like someone who plays their music louder than yours. Yep. And you have to be mindful. So what's the pivot on that? Somebody's playing their music louder than yours. Move a further distance away and you can hear your music. When you're trapped, but you have to be able to pivot and change it. So when somebody has invoked their intent on you, you have to be able to pivot and figure out the right pivot so that they don't have as much of an effect on you, or you reverse it. What my man said in Boomerang, Marcus, I heard that girl in the office got you pee-whipped. Don't be pee-whipped. Reverse it. That pee. Y'all know I can't stay serious for so long. All right. Can't even get my cigar stay lit. Messing with y'all. Mr. Franks, it's your fault that I went into that little tangent right there. So we're gonna blame you for that one, sir. Thank you very much. He influenced me, y'all. All right. We're gonna finish this chapter, and we got 2 paragraphs left, short paragraphs. A little reflection on what we have said will show the student that the principle of vibration underlies the wonderful phenomenon of the power manifested by the masters and adept, who are able to apparently set aside the law of nature, but who in reality are simply using one law against another, one principle against another, and who accomplish these their results by changing the vibration of matter, objects, or forms of energy, and thus perform what we commonly call miracles. As one of the old hermetic writers has truly said, he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. The Kybalion about the initiatives. Yep, and polarity is next. Polarity will be next week. But that last thing, let me go over that paragraph one more again. A little reflection on what we have said will show the student that the principle of vibration underlies the wonderful phenomenon of the power manifested by masters and adepts who are able to apparently set aside the laws of nature, but who in reality are simply using one law against another law, one principle against another principle, and who accomplishes their results by changing the vibrations of the material object or forms of energy, and thus performing what we commonly call miracles. As one of the old hermetic writers has truly said, he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. I don't know if you guys have been on here when I was talking about the hospital in China where they prepared themselves for months, and you had about 3-4 people come in there. They showed a live sonogram of this woman with a tumor, and as they were chanting, they were chanting in Chinese, in Mandarin, but the English translation was, "We are in the presence of a healthy woman." They were focused on the tumor, but their words were, we are in present, even though she has a tumor, in the present company of a healthy woman. And they showed the tumor decrease, go away. Right? You can find it on YouTube properly. There are plenty of people who will say that it's fake, it's whatever. I don't give a shit what other people think. I know my mentality, I've been around people who are sick and contagious. And my mentality has always been that I ain't gonna say always, but for a long time has been, I do not get sick. The only weakness to my mental that I have of that is goddamn sinus. And even that has strengthened in the fact that it doesn't happen as often. But I also recognize what I put in my body has an energetic transmutation to allow for those things to be able to fight against me even more so. So, like, if it's allergy season, if it's the dogwoods getting ready to come out here in Georgia, and I go and consume a whole bunch of dairy, like some good gelati, like some real good gelati. Matter of fact, that happened last year. I went to Vegas, and I must have eaten gelati about 8, 9, 10 times. Came back to Atlanta. All these dogwood trees and all that. Because of the energy transmutation of dairy in my system to mucus, and then to get hit by something that my body don't like, which is the whatever trees and shit was out. My mental energy wasn't strong enough to transmute that at the moment. And I had a hell of a sinus infection for about 3 days. But it only lasted about 3 days, because then I started sitting and meditating, and I started drinking water and doing everything. And I was like, nope, I am not. This is not today, not this guy. We're not having this. This is my body. I tell this damn thing what to do. So that's how it works. That's how everything works. Now, I saw the guy say he was using chi energy over some paper, and paper turned lit on fire. Healed. It's the same video, actually. It was the same documentary. And the guy they say that they were able to use sound to move these stones, but they wouldn't let them demonstrate it. And that they use sound to heal people, vibration to heal people, But these people, they keep it to themselves, because if you think about it, if people knew how to do certain things, they'd be messing people up. Some people will come and give you a tumor, if they can do it just with their mentals. I know this is off topic, but why do I attract men who are freak and want to just lick all over me? What can I do to not attract that? I'm always covers. I just don't get it. So you attract men who just I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you, sister love. I'm not laughing at you. You attract cottonwood in any dairy. Yeah. So she asked the question, why does she always attract these men who are freaks and they just want to lick all over her? So what can she do to attract? And she's always covered up. It's a personal question. You're a freak, as you call them freaks. Like, what if you do? So it sounds like you don't like that kind of activity, but do you actually like that type of activity? But would like it with somebody that you built a relationship with. So I need, because that's hard to answer with just that little bit of information. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's the way it's written, it threw me off. Okay. So you don't like that type of, you don't like it, but that's all they want to do. All right. So there is a different commonality. There's a different, not commonality. So you're not attracting what you like, but there's something there's something about you that attracts a certain type of man that those type of men also exhibit that trait. I don't know you, so I don't want to this. I don't like making up bullshit. Right? So it's a turnoff. Now, no matter how well, unless you're wearing a big sheet, there are some women that if their body is curvaceous enough uh, and their face is pretty, they're going to attract the lustful dude. And you can wear, I've seen some women dressed in like the Arab gear with the headscarf on, the head thing on, but the thing still shows the body and the face is still beautiful. And dudes be like, it attracts that lustful guy. I just met you and you want me to sit. Yeah, that's there's a lot of factors in there. Like, where are you meeting these people? Where do you work? Like, what kind of environment do you work in? What kind of environments are you placing yourself in? Like, I mean, are you going to like what? Are you going to bars? Or are you? I mean, so like, it's a difference. I'm not trying. This is not promotional. There's a difference in Atlanta between a cigar bar and a cigar lounge. I own a cigar lounge. In a cigar lounge, yes, we may have some sexual conversations from time to time, a lot. But there is the gross and egregious is not here. But when you if you went to a cigar bar, you get the more I'm out here trying to get some tonight kind of mentality where we just sit and chill. So that's why I'm asking like the environment. You work in landscaping, you and your best friend. I mean, because you mean just dudes on the street, and as soon as you meet them on the street, they want you. They're like, "Hey, how you doing? I want you to come on over today and sit on my face." Like in that, this is hard. I would have to know you. I'm not gonna give you some bullshit. I would have to know more about you, and probably things about you that we can't. That a discussion would have to be had. Okay, so you're in landscaping, you meet guys in the same business. I mean, half the guys I know who are in the landscaping, they more, yeah, yeah, just just let's talk about this differently. And you might need some coaching. You might need coaching. Well, not need, but just an understanding. Because I wouldn't want to. I ain't gonna put everything, all your business out here. It could be your light, but I gotta get to know you. That's why I'm Coach Jeremy. Nah, because I have some thoughts, some insights, but it's not for public. Plus, time is valuable. Honestly. So, what do you guys think about vibration? Like, if you don't pick up nothing from that chapter, understanding, because I talked about Napoleon Hill earlier. One of the books that I would love for us to, at some point we will, at one point we will go through it, and that is the book called Outwitting the Devil. Y'all can talk about, they can talk about Think and Grow Rich all they want to. Outwitting the Devil is the best book Napoleon Hill has ever written, and is on a must-read list for me and anybody who's with me. You know, my kids, they've had their copy for years. Yeah. If somebody like that's a must-read. The thing about it, that book is really about controlling the negative energy in your mind that prevents you from achieving whatever it is you desire, and controlling what happens to you, around you. How do you move through this existence? I guarantee Napoleon Hill read the Kybalion in order for him to write that book. And that book was written in 1938. It just didn't get published till 2011. But it was written in 1938. Right? And yes, he goes into a whole bunch of ways how to teach kids in school and change the culture and all that. But the main thing is how you are, how you think. That all of that vibration, law of vibration, summed up, came down to that last chapter, that even the most grossest forms of matter you can control, to the highest forms of matter you can control, to the light spectrum, to the frequencies of sound, to the ether of the universe, you can control if you're willing to go through the practices to get there. The most people are not. The majority are not. They are fine being the masses. Can you find it in Audible? Well, Outwitting the Devil? I don't know if it's, in Audible. I was going to say, I thought you were talking about the program, the company Audible. I know you can go to YouTube, do Outwitting the Devil, and you can listen to it. But I would recommend you read it first before you listen to it. Because most of the time when you're listening to something, you miss stuff. Like, it's cool that you guys are listening, that we're reading through this book. But I guarantee there were times that I've read something, your mind started thinking about that something, and then you missed the next portion of what I was reading because your mind gets distracted. Or you're driving down the street and you notice something and you miss a portion. Somebody says something and you miss a portion. That's why I'll read it first. That's why even when we started this one, I was like, I want you guys to read this book. Whether you read it before, during, or after, but read this goddamn book. Like, maybe you got it right now and you're going to reread that chapter later on today, or you read it prior to this week of us going through it, but read it first. So read the Outwitting the Devil first, is my opinion. Because I listened to it about seven or eight times before I read it. But when I read it, I didn't realize how many things I missed when I was listening to it. Then after, when I would listen to it, of course, I'm catching everything. And even when my thoughts stray, I know what he just said. Teresa said, yes, it's on Audible. So it's on Audible as well. I'm working on my mind drifting off, but you're correct. Yeah, it's hard. Look, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm sitting up here and let me not say it that way. Because there are different degrees of it. I can be talking to y'all. I'm like right now, talking to y'all. Can get distracted while talking to y'all, but y'all would never notice it. Right? It can get completely distracted. The only way you would notice it sometimes, because I'm not always looking at y'all anyway, I'm looking to the left or to the right. Sometimes I'm looking to the left or to the right because there's another thought in my mind that pertains to what we're talking about. And I want to make sure I wrap it, back in. Other times, I'm actually having thoughts that ain't got nothing to do with what we're talking about. Like I was just thinking about that white van that just drove down the street and then that other car that just went down the street that way, which ain't got nothing to do with y'all thinking about that person that's going to live an entire life that we have no idea about at the same time. I'm not trying to say I'm great. Well, I am great, but I've practiced being able to notice that red car getting into the turning lane, but they're not coming over here. They're just waiting on another car because another car's coming down the street, and that's why they were waiting going slow. While talking to y'all and, not losing that connection. I practice those things to be able to focus on multiple things at the same time. And I did that initially for business purposes because I need to be able to focus on everything that's going on. When I had the popcorn shop, especially, I got popcorn popping, and my ears have to hear the sound when I'm away from it. I got things in the caramelizer. My brain got to be keeping the time for certain flavors that I'm making. I got a customer that I'm working with out front, and I got to talk to this customer and make sure that they feel engaged while my brain is doing all these other things at the same time. And I got some cheese tumbling, and I got to think of it, keep it in mind that can only tumble for so long, all happening same time. So I had to train my mind to do that. But that was something that was trained in me a long time ago. But that type of that's a more recent usage of it. It took years of development. And what I'm saying is that I'm saying all of that as an example that are you willing to take the time to learn how to meditate? And most people just, I'm gonna go meditate and I'm gonna gain control of my emotions and meditate. No, the real control happens when you're dealing with people and you're dealing with situations. Can you control your emotions at that point? Can you control your emotions when some of you know that I was in a relationship at one point with a very insecure person, right? The problem was that person couldn't control their emotions when I was away from them, to not be insecure, to have to question everything, to go through my phone, to if to call and have other people check, what time did I leave and all this sorts of thing. Lack of emotional control. They couldn't do it. I'm not kicking that person at all, because the thing is, have I had insecure thoughts about any person? My lady that I'm with now, do I at times have insecure thoughts? Of course I do. Do I allow those insecure thoughts to live? And do I allow them to grow? Do I allow them to change how I act and anything like that? Hell no. Do I then control those emotions without pushing it on the other person? That's the key. I maintain and gain the control over the emotion, and not through satisfaction. Not through satisfaction. Oh, is she banging some dude right now? But let me call her, video chat her at work so I can see that she at work. That way I know she ain't banging some dude. Now, see, that's you having to control the person in order to satisfy your loss of emotional control, or that thought, or to get rid of that thought. You're not controlling that thought at that point. That thought is controlling you. because it's causing you to, I'm gonna sneak over there, I'm gonna call, all this sort of thing. Mm-mm. No, it's an internal control that doesn't cause you to commit to any action whatsoever. It's all internal. It's in your own mind. It's one of the thoughts I used to repeat to myself when I would have those kinds of thoughts is, if she is, then she wasn't mine in the first place. So why worry about it? Especially when I was young. I got married at 19. When I got married at 19, I had to practice that thought a lot. Especially since I was gone a lot. Desert Storm, gone 6 months. Bosnia, gone 6 months. Out on a ship. It ain't like I can do anything. That drove some guys crazy. And they drove them to the point where they got off the boat, went and found a woman to have sex with, because I know she at home having sex with somebody. And the Marine Corps ain't no good for it, because while you're running, you're singing songs talking about Jody got your girl and gone. Jody's at home banging your girl. Like, we're singing songs telling us that somebody's banging your woman. It's stupid. It's messing up your mindset. But, for me, it was, I remember sitting on the ship, and I was like, and guys were talking about that in office. And then I just resolved myself and I said, you know what, guys, I'm not going to get off this boat and go cheat on her, because she's not here to provide that for me. So why would I cheat on her? And she's not even in my presence to tell me no. Right. And the same message was relayed to her. So I wrote in a letter, because, when you had the internet back then, I wrote her a letter, a pen and paper, and it's an envelope, y'all. And then you take a stamp and you put this stamp on it. Right. But I sent her a letter and I explained all of that. Like, a lot of these guys are out here cheating on their wives and all this kind of stuff. But I resolved myself to the point of, you're not here to tell me no. You're not here to deny me. There's a reason why we can't have sex. And since there's a reason that we cannot have sex that's logical, then that is not reason for me to go out here and have sex. Now, yes, I was using a bit of reverse psychology, because writing that letter, it did resolve my emotions. But if she was feeling that emotion either way, is he cheating? I know he probably out there getting some, so let me go get some. I wanted that letter to work on both sides. I remember writing the damn thing, right? I can tell you exactly where I was on the ship. We were 2 days into Gibraltar, and I was sitting on the ship, sitting on the upper third deck on the railing when I wrote that letter. But that was one of the first times where I really engaged. That's when I first really engaging in controlling my emotions. And I know that when I haven't controlled my emotions is when I've made some of the dumbest freaking mistakes of my life. Some of the dumbest mistakes of my life. And most of my mistakes have a financial accountability to them. And it's not been a lot of them. That's the sad part about it. It's only been about 3 or 4 that if I had turned left instead of going right in my decision making, but because I made a decision based on trying to make other people happy, the resulting of that has been, I can count it in finances. One emotional financial mistake at one moment cost me about 7 to 8 years of financial struggle in a business. Emotional state. One moment. Okay, I had an emotional moment. Let me tell y'all. I don't think I've told anybody this. But I'm gonna tell y'all this one. And I'm gonna tell y'all because I want y'all to get better. I want y'all to understand the power of not being in control of your emotions. So most of you know that I plan to move to Puerto Rico in January, right? And some people have asked me, why January? I mean, why January? Why Puerto Rico? You know, why Puerto Rico, Coach? Why are you going to Puerto Rico? Okay. I'm going to Puerto Rico because currently I cannot get a passport because I owe arrearage in child support. I'm not embarrassed about it. Like I just told you guys, I had like 8 years of struggling business. I'm behind, right? So can't get a passport yet. No biggie. So where can I go that's not mainland America? We have 14 territories, but only like 2 or 3 are habitable. No, like 4 of them. 4 of them are habitable. It's Guam, American Samoa, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. So out of those choices, Puerto Rico is the best fit. Why am I in child support arrearage? Because on the day that we got divorced in 2008, when she didn't show up. I was the only one there. The judge, the amount that the child support was, because I own a business, was based on the 2 previous years of tax returns. The judge was like, are you sure that you want to accept these terms of child support? Because I can amend it to your current money that you're making, right? Because I was that 2008, that recession started kicking in, my money was a lot lower. He sat there and asked me that, but I felt so guilty about the fact that I was not in the house with my kids, that my kids need to have as much money, and I will just figure out how to make sure I can pay the amount that was on there. And mind you, the 2 previous years were very good. 2006 and 2007 were great. 2008 was kicking my ass. All right. But I figured I'll figure it out. My kids, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be in the house with my kids no more. I'm not going to see them every day. And I got to make sure, I was so emotionally distraught about my children. And don't get me wrong, I was very, the relationship, this was a 22-year relationship. It was hard. I'm not going to lie. I was depressed as fuck, I knew I had to leave the relationship, but it was still killer to leave the relationship. I made that decision in 2008 when that judge gave me the opportunity to think through my logical brain, to control my emotions, but I didn't. When I tell you that I have had to serve stints in jail because the first time it happened, because I had gotten 6 months behind. And then there are other moments because, and it was only 10 days. But then, and I say only 10 days, but it was fucked up. Well, I actually meditated those whole 10 days. And one time, I actually needed a break at that time frame. I know that sounds weird, but I needed a break from life at that time frame. But there were those moments where, I fell behind 2-3 months, then you not made a payment, you fall behind 2-3 months, and then your license suspended, you don't know it, you get pulled over for speeding, and now you got to now you're at the Cab County or somewhere for, about 14 damn hours before you can get out that wretched hole. Those interruptions in your life. Then you got to pay tickets and pay more money here, more money, and it throws all the money that you was trying to work something out. For one moment of not controlling my emotions in 2008, by allowing shame and guilt and loss. And by that time frame, I was in the depression part. To allow all of that to supersede my logical brain of saying, hey, yes, you were putting $8,000 a month in your pocket, you know, now you're barely putting 2 and 3 in your pocket. And that 2 and 3 is you to eat and to get an apartment and got a car note. No, that 2 and 3, that wasn't doing shit. Not at all. That's how important it is that you control your emotions. Because the long-lasting effects of a decision that you make today, those effects are incredibly, they can be very long-lasting. And although the energy it took to make that one stupid decision, you're like that, the energy it takes to get out of it, you know what I'm saying? The energy it takes to get out of it is tremendous. To reverse it, I'll tell you some of the reason why I struggle with business is, compounding bad decisions. I still got this high ass child support, and here it is. I'm making another business decision. I'm trying to satisfy this other person's emotions, and in doing so, I make a bad decision or got forced into a bad decision, and now I'm placing my store in a location I never wanted to put it in. And the store went from making $200K a year to 80 day and night. Didn't even take time. Like if I closed this location because I got outbid by my lease, I moved into this location 2 months later, opened the doors, and the amount for that month compared to the previous few months ago, what the hell? Oh, hey, we just getting started, but it shouldn't matter because I'm right down the street from where I used to be, so all my customers should come down here anyway. But no, I learned a lot about people. But I'm just saying, those moments, you will have these moments. Have a lot in common, Morris. But I'm sure that if everybody who's listening to this thinks about something in their life, it resonates. You make these emotional ass decisions. And it's okay to have some emotions within your decisions. You have to. But you can't let emotions supersede logic. Just like you can't let logic always supersede emotion. Everything doesn't have to be the most logical decision. Sometimes you got to follow your gut instincts. Right? That's the control. That's the control. That's what the masters, and as this book calls them, masters and adepts, that's what is done by masters and adepts. It goes beyond you sitting and meditating. I wake up every morning, I meditate, and then at night I got my bow and ding, oh. That's cool. That's part of the process. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. You should. That's part of the process. Centering yourself, understanding yourself. That's part of the process. Recognizing, I don't know, the sister's still on here, recognizing what vibrational energy you're putting out. That's you do that. That's part of the process. But then it goes steps further. It goes a step further. Now, I'm going to tell you, as a responsible person, I would not sit here and publicly give out all those steps to which I've gotten to thus far. It would be irresponsible because some of those things, some people don't need to become masters or adepts. Some people don't, because their core morality or purpose for doing things it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. Let's look at it from this standpoint. That dude in Germany back in the day, you say things specifically, these channels try to kick you to the curb. That dude in Germany back in the day was a phenomenal orator, and look what he created, and look what happened. Everybody don't need to know how to do everything. So I'm very cautious about whom I speak to on higher conscious level things, because we have a joke. We was in here. I'm a comic book nerd. I didn't even start this conversation though, but somebody was like, I think it was because we was watching a movie. If you can have any comic book power, what power would you want to have? And they were just talking about it. And then I said, okay, but what's the first thing you would do? Damn near everybody in the room, only one person didn't say something in the same vein, but everybody in the room said the first thing they would. They gave an example of the first thing they would do, and it was all selfish as hell, completely self-centered, completely wrong. Oh, like that movie Jumper. If I could teleport, I'd teleport into the bank, grab me a whole bunch of money, and teleport out. All the just the bank ain't hurting nobody. No, really, you are. Yes, you are. Yeah, you really are. It's things like that. People had something selfish about, and most of the time it was financial, right? But only one person, things that they were saying were very just altruistic, about helping people and helping the world in itself and that sort of thing. And I'm saying one person excluded me. I'm a little different though. I'm a bit tyrannical. I think I need to be the dictator of the earth for about the rest of my life, and I can fix all this shit. It's just because I know these humans. They're not gonna change because of love. You gotta shut some shit down. But anyway, about vibration, about you. Spend more time meditating. Get to know yourself. As you get ready to make decisions about your life, start with the simplest of things: how you drive, how you walk, how you dress, how do you speak to people. When people upset you, how you're going to speak, how you speak to them. Role play that in your mind. This is one of the things, is role playing in your mind scenarios so that you are prepared for different emotional situations, right? Um, like, stop being vague in life. Start become more detailed in everything you do. Detailed in your action. Become detailed in your speech patterns. Like, I irritate the shit out of people. They'll say some vague stuff to me, and I tell them, no, I need the details. Don't tell me vague stuff. And I purposely ignore vague stuff so that it forces them to tell me the details, because I need the details of things. If I don't understand the details, then I cannot answer the question or deal with the situation properly. Um, it irritates I know she don't say it, but it irritates my lady sometimes, because I'll be like, details, come on. Don't give me this vague stuff. I need details. Because in order for us to have a more successful relationship, I need to know the details of whatever she's talking about. And it could be the simplest thing. It could be about people at her job. It could be about anything. I still want to know the details, because it gives me a better understanding of her mind when she responds certain ways to what happens at work when I know the details. So it then better helps me to be able to support her, or be there for her, or correct her, or whatever. And I give her details so that the same can be implemented towards me. If I need correction, or I need the understanding, or whatever, you need the details in order for me to be able to do that, and in order for you to be able to do that towards me. Like, the term is the devil is in the details, but I've always said heaven is in the details. You got to have the details. So start getting more detailed about every aspect of life, and then you will be able to put the right emotion, the right perspective, the right intent into the things that you do, and then you'll gain more and more and more control over your life and how things function. So those, I hadn't planned on telling y'all none of those kind of things. That's usually what I charge people for when I do my coaching. But those details are very important. It may require you keeping a journal. It may require you writing. Writing is a great way to kind of get your thoughts on paper and taking that time to sit with your, but mainly to sit with yourself. Taking that time to sit with yourself is very important. And if you're writing a journal, that gives you that opportunity to sit with yourself, right? And you can write it, essay style. You can write poetry style, however you write, but make sure there's some freaking details in there. You got to know the details, man. It's like when people meditating and praying that they're gonna manifest something. But the example I gave y'all earlier, when I want certain people to come into the lounge, if I vaguely say I want 20 people to come in here right now, vague. No, I need this person, that person, that person. And the thing about it is strategic as well. So I'm getting a little more. It's strategic. If I want a certain number of people in this lounge, I know I say, okay, I want that person because I know that person, these people will come. And I also want this person, that person, these people will come. And then that person, these people will come, right? So I strategically pick about 5 different people and you can focus on that. And that brings more of them in there. Now, that's me trying to bring them in using my energy. Unless there's another, now, when it doesn't work, it's because there's a more powerful energy that's upon that person's life at that time frame. For instance, maybe they promised somebody that they would. I remember I did it one time, and then I did it, and then I happened to look, and I saw that it was Cigar Week in Houston. I was like, oh shit, I just wasted my energy because this Cigar Week in Houston, and I know them jokers going to Cigar Week in Houston, or it was Cigar Week in Charlotte the week before. I was like, well, shit, I know they're in Charlotte. I know they're going to Cigar Week in Charlotte. So it was a waste of energy. So it's not like, oh, it's just going to happen. They're going to supersede everything. You are fighting against, you don't know what other forces. But if I had recognized that it was Cigar Week in Charlotte and then followed by Houston, then I would have known certain people not to emphasize my energy towards because I know those people are more drawn to that. And some of them because business-wise, they are going to be drawn to that. So the details, you got to know those details to be able to focus in and pull in, especially when it involves other people. Sister may have to change her behavior at work. She says she's in the lawn industry. You might have to become one of them people that they don't like. Well, I mean, you got to keep a certain amount of decorum because y'all working together and they may be sharing leads and things of that nature. But certain other friendliness may have to go away. You have to stop, recognize those people I can't be this level of friendliness with, but I can with these people over here because this type of person, like if you lived in Atlanta, the people who go to Jazz at the High Museum, they're not the more, hey, how you doing, girl? You fine as hell. Come on over here and sit on my face. No, those aren't those kind of people over there. These jokers who out here that's doing the same work, whether they're the owners or the supervisors, they're a little rougher. They work a lot. They tired. They out there in that hot ass, I think she said she in Florida earlier, hot ass Florida sun. I'm tired. Ain't got time to be doing all this schmoozing, all these games, girl. I'm going to tell you what I want. That's what you're dealing with. You might change the way you talk to them. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there because me and her has not had a conversation. But you have to recognize environments. Your environment has a vibration to it. Has a y'all know, people walk into this lounge like, ooh, I like the vibe in here. It's just nice and chill and we just talking. Versus the club vibe, the bar is loud, the music's playing. It's a different vibe. We recognize these things, so we have to change. We have to fit, but we have to change who we are in each one based on what we want. It's hot in Florida. I imagine. I used to live in Brandon, Florida, which is right outside is on the east side of Tampa. I understand. 6 years in hot Florida, and muggy as shit. But yeah, I can't be getting y'all all the damn secrets. Shit. And I'm still working on things myself. You know, still working on things myself because I got to make sure I get. I need to. I'm going. I have in this life what I want. I will not leave this life without having every aspect of what I want. And then, you know, I told you I ain't coming back to this earth no more. I'm tired of earth. Tired of earth and all these humans on earth. These humans, that human mentality, that shit is poison to my brain. I'm not coming back here. Whatever life I lived previously, it still had doubt. Or it was idiotic enough to say that, man, I want to come back. I want to experience a little. No, you come back here. You're a loner in Florida. I can understand. By the way, this is so, I'm stereotyping, okay? I'm straight up stereotyping. The way you talking about the men, right off the bat, my brain thought that, oh, you must be in Tampa or St. Pete. You got to be in Tampa, St. Pete. Because that's where I experienced people who act like that. Tampa and St. Pete. But oh, Orlando. Really? You know, I would have thought Orlando would have been better. But that's, well, hell, Central Florida. Maybe that's all of Central Florida. Oh, and Jacksonville. They kind of rough in Jacksonville, too. But anyway, going off on a tangent here again. Shit. I forgot what I was saying. I know I'm not coming back here. Not dealing with these humans and their mindset. Okay, good. You met a nice brother yesterday. Good. Yeah, now I want to deal with these people. I'm done coming back. I'm teaching all that I can teach before I go. Yeah, keep us posted. But there's nothing more. By the time I leave this existence, I would have taught everything that I need to leave behind to be taught. The technology of today has given us the ability that 1,000 years ago from now, this hopefully, unless we destroyed, the earth has been ravaged and is back to a dystopian society. If it's still digital, a digital holographic, whatever kind of world going on 100, 200,000 years from now, this will still be here. Somebody will be able to access this. I'm good. Some people come back to teach. Some people come back because they're fearful. We talked about a great example of that was the Tibetan Book of the Dead, of how people come back. Most people come back here because of fear. Fear of the unknown is one of the most terrifying things in life. You know, they like to say public speaking, fear of public speaking is the number one. Fear of the unknown. You say you can't take these human stupidity no more. I understand, David. We would have a real personal conversation about that, David, when you come by here. Yeah, you know I had to throw it in there. But the Tibetan Book of the Dead call it samsara, which is a cycle that you go through at the moment of death of this body, that your consciousness goes through. Because if you don't recognize where you are and what's going on, you end up going through a fear stage. And while you're in that fear stage, the portals that you can enter are all portals or wombs that come back to earth. So out of that fear. So most people are coming back because of fear. You say you want to know what's on the other side. Once you heard Tina Turner say that, oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. That was whew, Tina died. I was like, what? But I always heard we were tricked by the archons. You know, I think when people get into things like the demiurge or the archons and tricking and that sort of thing, to me, it is, I don't want to do the work to get my consciousness at a level where I can control what happens post-mortem of this body. And I want to have something to blame. I want to scapegoat. I want to say, you know, I don't want to admit that I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why humanity began. Consciousness came into these human bodies. We have we want to have a human experience. Who the fuck want to have this experience? If I'm a higher conscious being, I don't want to have this experience. This is bullshit. This is a low grading experience. Now, if we were lower conscious, if we are lower conscious states that are all developing, and this is just one of the stages, like you were previous to this, you were a lower conscious state that was in a worse type of situation, like, you know, it was a messed up existence with a lot of torment and all that bullshit going on, or frustration and irritations, and most things are negative, and you finally came to a realization at that state, and then when you died in that state, you were born into this state, and now it's time for you to revolve. You know, you were revolving in that state until you reach a certain level of consciousness, and bam, you get this state, and then you revolve until you get a certain level of consciousness, and then you go to the next state and continue that process. That is as far as I can get with those. What began us at the earliest state of consciousness? Don't know. Have no idea whatsoever. We can guess all day, but we don't know. Because as you move to each level, you don't remember shit about the previous. You don't remember nothing. You only know this existence. You might remember other existences in this level, but once you leave it, what is there the need to remember this one? What benefit does a lower conscious state have now that I'm in a higher conscious state for me to remember this? Because most of the stuff that I was dealing with at this conscious state couldn't get me to the higher conscious state. And once the light bulb goes off and I get to that higher conscious state, this one doesn't have anything for me. Nothing. So somebody tricking us, archons, demiurges, like they used to say back in the day, fully. No. Nah. I can't get with that. It doesn't make any logical or emotional sense for that. It sounds more like propaganda of self-gratification and scapegoating. It doesn't fit in the growth of consciousness. I mean, even have you ever thought about this story, the story of the war in heaven and the creation of the devil and all that kind of stuff? How stupid that is. The war in heaven is not like, I'm 51. My son right now is 22. How old is that boy? Yeah, he's 22. He's 22. If he and I were to get into a physical fight, he legitimately can think that he has an opportunity to win. He's going to lose, but he legitimately can think that he has an opportunity to win because he's older, he's bigger, he's stronger. A God fighting the devil thinking he can beat the God, would be like my son at 5 years old thinking he can whoop my ass when I'm 30. I don't know if it was 30 and 5. I don't know what age I was when he was 5. But that would be the equivalency of that. He 5. I was just making sure the customer was going that way. Those people were going that way. He 5. I'm 30. Actually, I think I was around 33. And I was a personal trainer. And I'm trained in the military and higher branches of the military. He doesn't stand a freaking chance. That's how dumb a war in heaven sounds to me. You are an angel who recognizes and have this higher conscience to know that you were created by that one, that you are like a little to that one, and you're gonna fight a war, and then these other folks gonna follow you. They that stupid? These other beings were up there too, and they knew it. That's stupid. That's dumb. That's not like aliens fighting each other, because they're just beings that have high technology. That's it. They're just technologically advanced individuals, and they got into a war just like we do. You know, stupid. It's a dumbass story to me. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That a conscious being of that level would actually think that they could fight against what created them. It's never made sense. So you won't backtrack to the lower state. I would want to remember. No, you won't backtrack to a lower state. You can't backtrack to a lower state. You know, and if I don't know, well, who is that talking? That's Lance. I don't know how long you've been with me, Lance, but I'm a movie buff. I love the movies, and movies have a great way of describing things. If you've seen the movie Externals, the Angelina Jolie character winds up remembering all the worlds that she had conquered before. She was start remembering all the lives that she had lived before, and it caused her to go crazy. They called it mad weary. If you could remember all your previous lives, or just even previous lower existent states, then you would lose your shit. Your consciousness right now wouldn't be able to handle it. And as we was talking about the law of vibration and how it works with the law of polarity, there are millions of degrees along the scale. So if you're here, it may be several million degrees of lower conscious states. If you were here and can remember the million, you lose your shit. I give you a simple, even simpler way of that. If there's a movie involving time travel, I'm gonna watch it. I love time travel. I love time travel movies. We briefly discussed the movie, and I might watch it today because I like stupid movies too. Hot Tub Time Machine. There was a discussion on a message board that was talking about Hot Tub Time Machine, of how the people that they were talking about how grim the movie really is, if you think about it. The guy Lou stays back in 1980 whatever, right? And he invents Lugal and does all these different things, right? The other guys went back to the current time frame. Well, they don't remember, as the movie shows, they don't remember everything the last 30 years of how their lives had changed. They just walked in and they got a whole new life, but they don't have any memory of that, right? That's not how that would work. If they pop back into that 30-year point, not only would they remember everything from the previous 30 years of how it really went for them, but they would also have the memories of the 30 years since Lou stayed. And they would have a conflict in their mind. They will have two memories of every day. And at some point, they will stop being able to recognize. They will have trouble recognizing which one is true and which one is false. They're both true, so let me not say that. Which one was the original and which one was the changed? They would lose their shit. Just if you had two different memories of 30 years, everything's different. All the stupid stuff that Lou went through growing up, when they was growing up with him, they wouldn't have any of that. They would have that, and they got this new guy that they knew. You know what I'm saying? We can't hold in this state of being, we can't hold two consciousness, let alone 1,000. 10,000, million. Wouldn't be able to hold it. Yeah, I know I'm going to watch that movie now. Because it is kind of like messed up. Like those guys would be all screwed up. Even Lou would have been screwed up because he would have still remembered those 30 years of his life sucking. And even though he's making changes, he's creating new memories. He'd be the only one that has some level of sanity because he's creating all his new memories as he's living them. Whereas the other guys didn't get to live the new memories, but now they have to live a life based on the new memories. You know? Imagine your wife saying, "Oh, yeah, the best vacation was, 20 years ago when we went and you remember," and you sitting up there like, 20 years ago, damn, I got 20 years ago of this, and I got 20 years ago of that. Which one is she talking about? Which one, you know what I'm saying? But of course, it's a movie, so they're not going to give you that kind of dilemma at the end of the movie. Because then nobody will want to fantasize about being able to find a hot tub that takes them back in time and they can change their life. But yeah, so progression, sure. Somebody tricking us, just progression. It's just how it is, right? It's beyond our knowing and understanding of the memory of it all. But if I was the manifester of a universe and I have these conscious beings that I'm going to create, instead of tricking them or creating a being that tricks them into lower states of consciousness, I'm going to start them just like how we have a baby and let them grow through their own consciousness at whatever speed their consciousness is growing at. I'm not interfering. I put these hermetic laws in place, let them discover those laws. And these are the 7 hermetic laws that we know. I'm sure that there are higher laws of consciousness, higher hermetic laws beyond this, that when you get to the next highest consciousness, then oh shit, there's more to the game. Just as we mentioned in the beginning of this, just in looking at time, will we be able to discover the energy? And see, time is an energy, it's a frequency, it's a vibration. Will we be able to figure out how to manipulate or utilize? The best we may be able to do is, we won't figure out how to manipulate time at this conscious level. Maybe at the next dimensional plane, you'll be able to manipulate time. Or maybe it's the one after that, or the one after that. It's somewhere along the path. You'll understand the energy of time. I doubt if we'll be able to figure out the energy of gravity, in this existence, on this plane of existence. Probably not. Probably not. Work with it, manipulate, use other forces against it. Yes. But control it? No. I don't think we'll be able to control gravity. Make an airplane, that works. We're working with gravity, we're using other, just as the Kybalion talks about using other laws against other laws, that's how we will use other forces against gravity. Wind and lift, propulsion. Because if you think about propulsion, is really you're pushing against the center of the gravity with enough force to fight through it. It's kind of like a boat going and hitting waves. We ain't going with the flow. We fighting against it. So, so maybe the key is not fighting against gravity, because as the Tao says, is getting into the flow of things that gets you to the other side of the river. Like, it gives this story where he says that there was this river, and every time somebody tried to go across it, they would die, because they were trying to go from here to right there, and they would die because the waves were so rapid. But then this old man got into the water, and he got into the water, started swimming, and then he floated down the river. Everybody thought he died, but then an hour later, he walks up the side of the bank, and he's at the point that he wanted to get to. They asked him, how did he do it? He said, I got into the river, and instead of fighting against it, I went with the flow of the river, and eventually I got across. So he worked with the flow of it. So if we can work with to understand the flow of gravity and work with the flow of gravity instead of fighting against gravity all the time. But gravity is going inward at a center point. But we're trying to burst free to get outside of this. I don't know. See, it's beyond, I don't know. See, that's when the part saw is not working for me. But like, but we can still utilize things like that for our life. Most of us want to have a nice, comfortable financial life, and we all have different levels of that financial life. But most of us are trying to fight against it. Most people, most humans are fighting against financial growth. We don't know how to pivot. There are people, I talk to people, I tell people right now, you're a truck driver. At some point within the next 50 years, trucks are going to be driving themselves. Right? You better start making some changes. If you're like 20 and you're getting into truck driving, you might be able to retire. Maybe. But within the next 50 years, there's going to be less and less truck driving jobs. There are certain industries that are going to they will become automated. And if you're not part of that pivot, you're going to find yourself 40 years old having to start over. My daughter, one of my daughters who was she does dispatching, and where she does dispatch, and she gets the contracts, and she negotiate the contract, bids for the contract, and then bids those out to the drivers. Right? That shit gonna become automated at some point. Sydney, start figuring out something else. So now she's getting into IT security. You gotta pivot. Got to pivot. My daughter used to do the paint canvas to sell her artwork. Hey, look at all this shit's digital. I told her that years ago. So she started doing digital painting. So now all her artwork is done on digital. It's done digital, which leads her into animation, illustration, all that kind of stuff. But you have to keep pivoting. Understanding markets, understanding how money flows. If you don't, your ass is going to be broke. And then you're going to be pissed. And then you're going to be filled with anger and irritation. Man says that trucks and construction equipment will be automated by 2035. And I don't think that you're too wrong about that. And just like y'all know, I'm a proponent of us moving to Africa. Not so much because of our level of melanation. The melanation does help because the melanation allows you opportunities and privileges. Like, how they got white privilege here in America? You got black privilege over there. I'm just saying take advantage of the privilege if you got it. And industries that we used to one of the things we always said here in Atlanta, if you see something that's hot in Atlanta, take your ass to Charlotte or Birmingham or Montgomery or Mobile and do that damn thing, because they gonna copy it, and Chattanooga, because they gonna copy it. You got about 5 years before they had the same shit. We had cigar lounges down here in Atlanta. They blew up. Cigar lounges all over the place. Charlotte's starting to get more cigar lounges. Birmingham's getting more. It's a copy. Africa is the copy. industries that we were left out of in America, you can go gangbusters over there. If you're an IT person, yeah, it needs to be in Africa or Southwest Asia. To hell with America. Africa and Southwest Asia. That's where you need to be. So it's getting into the flow of things. And as you understand how to get into the flow of earthly things, then if you take that same thought process or similar thought process and you get into the flow of the spirit plane, that's how you determine what happens when you leave this one. Getting into that flow, trying to understanding how things flow at a higher dimensional plane so that you don't come back. So when you're going through, and I'm going to keep using that term samsara because I like the way samsara sounds. And it's one of the best explanations, I've seen from ancient texts. Getting into that conception of things, when you first come into samsara, you recognize everything here is a projection of my mind. It's not a projection of the all's mind. It's not a projection of the devil's mind. It is all a projection of my mind. Do I choose to go into the unknown of the next dimensional plane, or do I deal with and choose to focus on all these things that I know of, or things that I'm familiar with, and do I follow that path? And then when you follow that path, that freaking fear is gonna set in, because then you're gonna see the things that you consider to be strange and unusual and scary, and then your next pathways, even though you still have an opportunity to recognize and go into the next plane, the next pathways you do recognize is birth on this planet. And you say, let me go in now, because I know that. That's safe. That's familiar. I'm going there. So that fear of the unknown, you have to get past that. You have to get past it. I know people who like if you say, hey, you just pick a place on the planet, and they said, I'm going to pay for you to move there, but when you move there, you're on your own. Figure it out. Most people be like, hell no. Scared of the unknown. Am I going to have the things I'm familiar with? We was watching here, House Hunter International. This guy went to Tokyo, Japan. $2,500 to get a place. Man, these damn spaces was no bigger than a hotel room. And he was like, well, he kept saying, I'm looking for something I'm more familiar with. He kept saying more familiar. Well, I'm more used to this. I'm more used to that unknown. Even though he took a leap to go to Japan, he got there and he's searching for what he knows, what he's used to. That's why people come back here, because it's what you're used to right now. You have to go into the unknown. And you need to practice that here. Practice going into the unknown here. Go into places that you're not accustomed to going to, places you've avoided. Now, I'm not saying go to the hood, put yourself in danger. I'm not saying that. But I know people who have never been to an opera simply because mentally they're like, I don't know nothing about opera. I don't even think I'm gonna like it, or motherfucker, just go. You'd be surprised. You might not like it. You might come out of that and be like, I hate this. But you might come out of it thinking, realizing something that you've never realized before. And you've also conquered us doing something you won't do. I have an aunt who will not get on an airplane that's going to take her outside of continental United States because she's afraid they won't let her back in. For some reason, she thinks that they don't want, that she gonna leave and they ain't gonna let her come back. I told her, you probably better off if they didn't let you come back, but she got grandbabies and great grandbabies. But she is afraid. She won't do it. She's fearful of it. I moved to Puerto Rico. I know one person who's not coming. That auntie is not gonna come and visit. She's afraid. They won't let her back. And literally won't go anywhere. Won't even get on a ship, a cruise. Because they may not let her back. Ooh, that coffee good. It's good today, boy. Good Nicaraguan coffee with a good Nicaraguan cigar. But start opening yourself up to different vibrations, to different experiences, getting past that fear of the unknown. As you do that in simple things, you'll be able to do it in more complicated things so that you're starting to be prepared for samsara. But yeah. Any questions, statements? It's almost 1 o'clock. It's almost 1 o'clock. Any questions, statements? Church has been good today. Yeah, and learn another language. That's actually something that's very, and really focus and learn it. Like spend some time learning a language. That is a big struggle for a lot of people to learn a language because of all the unknown. And you feel like when you first start, you don't know shit, and you feel like getting to a point where you can actually have a conversation with somebody that you're never going to get there. But once you get there, you know, nope, just that you agree, Jeremy. Yeah, like I'm on 18 day streak in Spanish. Can I have a conversation with somebody yet? Nope. Do I understand some of the things that a lot of the stuff that people say in Spanish? Yeah. Right now, I probably would be able to speak Spanish like a 1-year-old. Learning different languages, also learn something new every day. Yeah. A video, the first video is supposed to be made today. It's not my channel. The first video is supposed to be made today. And I'm going to put, I think this is the way I'm going to force this person to make this video. But I'm helping someone with a new Facebook. It's a Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube channel, and Instagram. It's called Really Did You Know? That's the channel. I would love for everybody to go and join that channel. Even though there's nothing on it right now, there's supposed to be a first video put on there today. But it's Really Did You Know? Now, man says learn something new every day. The concept of the channel is that many of the things that we think many of the things that we do or think that is the definition or the understanding of an activity or a phrase or a thought process, we think it comes from A, but it actually comes from B. And you will be very surprised at where those things came from and what their origins were. I don't want to give you an example because those are the videos that they're going to be making, but I want you guys to go and support that channel, just like you support this one. Just like you're going to share these videos, share those videos. Their video is going to be much shorter than mine, but go and support that channel. Really Did You Know? On whichever format that you utilize the most. Really Did You Know? And it's just basic things. It's nothing. Some of them will be more in detail, but it's not targeted towards a certain, like mine is. My channels are why I left religion. They're targeted towards spirituality. It's not going to be targeted towards a specific subject matter like that. It's just different shit, just different things, and very interesting because as we've been going over a lot of different things, I've been like, oh shit, I didn't know that. You learn something. Babble Spanish I can understand at best, then Spanish, but progress. Than speaking, I don't have my glass on, but progress. I'm getting better at the Spanish. If I hear people around me, I can get a consensus of what they might be talking about. That's about it. and what they might be talking about. But yeah, go support that channel. Really Did You Know? And I'm going to be coming out with another channel that's going to be more business oriented. I don't have a working title for it yet because I haven't checked to make sure I can get that name, but I'll let you guys know that very soon. And it ain't the basic financial channels that says, oh, you got to have a budget, which I do believe you have to have a budget, but it's going to be more interactive. It's going to hopefully show you guys how to create either some, create some wealth, but real create wealth, not your bullshit. Okay, I'm not calling it bullshit because some people love network marketing. I just don't like network marketing, but it's going to be, more than just you can sit at home and make $10,000 a month and not do anything, or with only 1 hour of work. You can, and no. That's bullshit. Those people come on there and tell you that the real way that they're making money is by getting you to buy their program. That's how they're making money. They're not making money doing it. This channel is going to be dedicated to some of the things that I've done in the past that has increased the amount of money that I've had at any given moment. And I'm going to share those things with you guys on a different channel. And I want it to be specifically towards that so that there's no conflict. But I'm going to go ahead and create those channels today. So I'll tell you guys about them probably Monday or Tuesday, because I want to at least have 1 or 2 videos up before I tell you about it. But y'all, we're going to end it today. Had a good day there. So go support the channel. Really Did You Know? Really Did You Know? Really Did You Know? Really Did You Know? If you don't know what the name of the channel is by now, you got brain problems. But Really Did You Know? On all the little social medias of, well, not all, because there's a bunch of them, but YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Mainly focus on the YouTube and the Facebook. TikTok, it's all right, but mainly Facebook, YouTube. Please go subscribe, follow the channel. I know there's nothing there right now, but there's going to be at least 1 video added today at some point. Adios, mi amigo. I don't know. Tomorrow I'm going out of town. I might try to shoot a video I might try to go live when I get there. It depends on how things are going when I get there. And but I won't get there till the afternoon, mid-afternoon. So it might be in the evening, tomorrow in the evening. I know it won't be tomorrow morning because that will require me getting up at like 8 o'clock in the morning, at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we're not doing that, right? So y'all have a great day. If I don't see you live tomorrow, I'll at least make a couple of videos tomorrow. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations, and we are out. I'm going to shut you down first. Share these videos now. Get to the sharing. I want to see some sharing. It tells me if you shared it or not. Well, it don't tell me who, but you got to share. This is too many things to turn off.